Alright, so when we last left off on this engine, we had added in the valves. We do have an issue with this cam coming way up here, and we really don't want that. So I'm actually going to delete it, and I'm just going to make this a... helps if I actually select everything. There we go. So instead of making this a dual overhead cam, we're just going to make it a single overhead cam. We also have the issue with these keyframes right here. Now the keyframes aren't quite showing up in this property, which honestly kind of sucks. But that is okay, because what we can do, these right here are driven strictly by these lobes right here. Well, actually, you know what? We are going to make this a dual overhead cam. So what we're going to do is we're going to, not that, we need to duplicate this object first. We're just going to drag this up here. And so, what I need to do is I'm going to frame in on it. I need to make sure that this is centered. How centered? Extremely centered. So, all I'm going to do is press R on the keyboard. I'm going to start scaling it down. You said extremely centered. Yeah, I know, I didn't quite do it, did I? But that's okay, because we can just come in here, make sure it lines up, and then we'll just drag outwards. And that looks good right there. And so all I need to do now is just delete this. We'll come in here, and I'm going to press 1 on the keyboard. These vertices are fine. However, it's these vertices that I actually need to pull back. So I'm just going to pull these back real quick. Something like that I think should work. So then I can press 4 on the keyboard. And then we have all of these lobes right here that we need to go ahead and combine it to the... oops. We actually need to combine all of these to this. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to right click, go to parent, and we're just going to do parent object. It actually probably helps if I'm going to... No, that worked. Okay. Just make sure that these are locked in, and they are. Awesome. So what I want to do now is I want to actually bring these out. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into my Y view. Press W on the keyboard. I'm going to move these up to about here. I'm going to... Nope, don't want to do that. I actually want to select all of them and then duplicate. I can just move them on over here. About right there. So now we need to create rockers, or rocker arms specifically. So in order to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Add, Mesh, and we're going to do a cube. You know, the thing that every Blender user likes doing, because it's the cube. So the only issue that we're going to have is this is a dual overhead cam, not a single overhead cam. So we're actually going to have to delete some of these points, but that's not going to be a big deal. Let's go ahead and scale this down. Oops, I'm going to scale it right about there. And then we'll scale that right about there, and we'll make it much shorter. Just going to move that one right here. So, dual overhead cam. The way we're going to do this is the... Oh, kind of backwards on that. No? Yeah, I am. Okay, so I'm actually backwards on it. This is what I'm looking at. Is I have my intake valves on this side, my exhaust valves on this side. I actually completely screwed up on that. If you noticed that before, congratulations. And then I have to ask, why didn't you tell me? That's no big deal. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete this whole side. And we're going to select all of my exhaust valves. And we're just going to move them over. We will then duplicate them. And we'll move them over this way. We will then select all of the intake valves. Duplicate them. And move them over this way. There we go. So why does it matter what side these are? Well, the reason why it matters, because if these are the intake valves, that means our intake is going to be on this side of the engine. And if these are the exhaust valves, that means the exhaust is going to be on this side of the engine. So that's really the only reason why it matters. It's a little more accurate, you know, in terms of real world. It's a little more realistic as far in terms of like real world. Oh, what is it? Mechanics, I guess you would say. I don't know what the proper term is. So what we need to do now is we scrubbed through this before. So this is going to be the downward stroke, the power stroke, and then right here, this is going to be the exhaust stroke. after 180. So what I'm going to do is at 180, I need to see which of these valves are closest to that. In this case, it's going to be these. So I know the lobes on the back side are going to be my exhaust valves, and the ones on the front will be my intake valves. So I'm just going to start shift selecting. And we will delete those. Next thing we need to do, we're actually going to move all of these. I'm going to move those right about there. I'm going to select these and move those right about there. I know they're not lined up. We will deal with that here in just a minute. So I'm actually going to do something because this is driving me crazy. We're going to go up to set origin. We're going to say origin to geometry. I'm just going to press G after each one of these that I click on. And then these should already be set, and they are. Awesome. So back to what I was saying before. So the reason why I'm moving these kind of close, and in fact I should actually move them right about here, where they all have a slight offset to that first one, and it will make sense here in just a second. So if you're wondering why we're doing this, now we get to scale up. Or actually, I want to select all of these. Let's go ahead and do these real quick. Alright, so we're going to start with these right here. That bottom one will have a slight offset right there. Oops. Come on, Blender, stop fighting me. And Blender's going to fight me. Okay, so this one has the offset, this one has the offset, that one has the offset. So that actually worked out really good. I'm going to select these right here. I'm going to move these up where they have a slight offset on the inside. I need to select these. Or actually, as what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these where they're actually a little bit more centered. The offset will actually come on the bottom part instead of the upper part. So I think that would be a better way of setting them up. Something like that. And then we will select all of them. We're going to make sure that this is individual origins. Let's scale up. Alright, so that doesn't look too terribly bad. Probably going to go ahead and select all of these. I'm going to go ahead and move them from their position. Something like that. But I also need to do it with these as well. So if you move one side, you need to move the other. So something like that. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and start working on these rocker arms. So, rocker arms, they're actually just really weird shapes. I don't know how to really describe them properly, but they are kind of weird shaped. They have this general shape to them. And they usually have like a little, like if it's set up like this, it'll actually have like a little wheel in the middle. Those are roller rockers. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to, first I need to go into object mode. I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to duplicate him. I'm just going to move him up here, but I also need to set the rotation. Oh, I don't want to do that. I believe it's going to be Y rotation? Nope, it's going to be Z rotation. There we go. Which actually needs to be 180. There we go, that looks better. Alright, so what is going on here? Oh, that's right. The reason why that's happening because I'm only scaling part of it. I need to scale more than that. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting kind of tired. So we're going to have the roller rocker right there. And we actually need to scale this up just a little bit more. I'm going to move that right here. It's okay if it overlaps. I'm not too terribly worried about that. I just want it right there. The other issue we have is this actually needs to be brought more over this way. And then this wheel will be brought over here, like that. So the reason why that part's kind of important, because whenever the cams are spinning, there's actually a pivot point back here on the roller rocker, or on the rocker arm. And on these, it actually has a little indentation right here that this rests on. The spring pushes up on this side right here, but this right here stays down in place because of the camshaft and the spring constantly pushing up. So, yeah, the more you know. Alright, so we're going to go back in here. We're going to click on this wheel. We actually need to make it a little bit wider. Doesn't have to be too wide, but we definitely want it wider to kind of match what you'd expect to see with this right here. And so what we're going to do after that is we're going to duplicate these across. There we go. So let's go into the top view. Control D. Control D. Control D. Oops. Now, for some of you who are watching, if you're wondering why I always undo the movement, even if I accidentally move it instead of just repositioning it, because I found it's a little bit quicker to just undo it and then reduplicate it. That's honestly the only reason. So I need to turn these 180 degrees on this Z. So I'm actually going to use increment snapping, make sure my rotate is set. Let's just rotate these around. Right about there should be good. And that is perfect. Alright, so some of these should actually already be pressing down. So like these right here, these should... Well, they're supposed to be pressing down. This turns... From this angle, it'll turn clockwise. Yeah, so this angle turns clockwise. We are at 180. So, oh, that's why. Because we're not at 0. So right here, these should actually be pressing down. Those are just rolling, so that's fine. But to make these press down, is what we want to do is we actually want to select the cylinder, and then that, we're going to press P. We're going to do it to object. So we'll select the wheel and then the cube, P. Set to object. From this one, I'm just going to press G. That should... Wait, what's going on here? Oh, it's because I still have snapping on. Turn that off. There we go. Okay, so P, object, and then we can just start doing G, G. So I don't know what the previous action is inside of Blender. I don't know what shortcut key that is. And if you're watching this tutorial thinking, but you just keep hitting the G key, the reason why I'm doing that because I have my Blender set to industry compatible. I'm an avid Maya user. I've been using Maya for about 14 years now, and that's why. So I actually have my key maps and everything set to those hotkeys, which is just what I got used to. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's the way I have mine set up. So, alright, so this is actually going to rotate away from that, so that one's fine. What we need to do now is start setting these rocker positions. And the way we're going to do that is actually kind of difficult. And the reason why it's kind of difficult, because the pivot point is actually back here. So if we were to rotate this, we would get this. Not quite what we want. So I actually want to set the origin right here. So if I come up to mesh, one of the things I do not like about Blender, I actually rather hate it, is I can't set the origin to what I have selected. So the way that we kind of like mitigate that, I guess you would say, is if we come into the front view, we're going to, I'm going to press F to frame in on that. Whoa! Calm down, Blender. Calm down. I don't hate you that much. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of zoom in right here. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to snap it right here. So that'll be enough for us to kind of like get this working. And then all I need to do is just select all of these. And we'll go to Object. And we're going to go to Set Origin to 3D Cursor. So with me doing that, is what I can do now is I can select one of these. And we are now at the pivot point. And that is true with all of these. So all I have to do is just do the same thing to this other side. Going to zoom in. And you don't have to be this particular with it. I just choose to be. Set origin to 3D cursor. There we go. So now we have all of these that we can start animating. Now this is going to be the first ones that we need to animate, and we're going to we're actually going to rotate it down right about there, and we will. Well, we're not going to set it just yet, but we will here in just a second. This is the next one to actually start rotating in, and I believe. So this one's going to start rotating in as soon as the piston starts going down. So it looked like we got those a little backwards. Yeah, because this one's actually going to rotate around. So I'm actually going to set the transform right there. Oh, that's interesting. How come this isn't... Huh, that's actually really interesting. I can't see the mark. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, that's actually really interesting that I can't see the marker right there. I'm going to have to look into that. And this one I'm going to set. And we're just going... looking from this side, this should be counterclockwise motion, and it is. So all we're going to do is just rotate that way, which this one will be 360. And we will set. This one will be 360. We'll set. So there we go. So the exhaust valve is actually starting a bit early. The exhaust valve is actually opening as soon as this engine comes down, and then closing. Well, no, I guess that would be fine. Yeah, that'd be fine. It's not 100% accurate. We should actually make these lobes smaller, but you know what? Screw it. My biggest concern is that these camshafts are over the wheels, the rollers, and they are, so that's all I'm really concerned with. What we do want to do, though, is we want to go into animation, and we have all these tabs. So just like before, we're going to turn all of these off, except for the Y Euler axis. I don't know if it's actually pronounced Euler or if it's pronounced Euler. I've heard it pronounced both ways. So I don't know what way is the proper way and which way is the improper way. So Euler, Euler, you can choose. Alright, so now that we have done that, this should have a smooth rotation all the way around, and it does. So that is nice. And what we want to do now is we want to really start animating these rocker arms. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to select two of them. We will set a keyframe right here. Right here, they will be fully open. That looks like right about here they'll be fully open. So I'm just going to move those there. We'll set. And right here looks like they will be closed. let's see, that should be 0. Right here it's negative 425. So as long as we remember 425, we will be fine. Okay, that's close enough. And not quite the correct position. There we go. So the reason why I'm not worried about changing this like I have the others, because when you have a lobe, I'm going to open up Paint, but when you have a rotating object, it should be a straight line that goes all the way up and down. This is why I'm using inside where it has that little point and it's a vector point, so it's vector to vector. Whereas when you have a lobe, it's closed and then the lobe hits, it actually creates this weird little thing like that. You know, I'm like both sides are even, so you actually get something kind of like this. But that's why I'm not changing that animation at all. Boy. So I'm going to set this one right here. Then right here. Then I'll find the middle. Right there. Beautiful. Okie dokie. As what's really nice about doing this is that we have basically already animated the pistons, so I'm not even worried about my frame timing or anything. All I'm doing is just looking at the lobes and seeing about when they should close, which that one's going to be open for a little bit longer than normal, but that's okay. There we go. Beautiful. So this one should be, actually this one should be 540. I probably should be using a lot more math than what I am, but oh well. I'm just kind of like guessing. A lot of this stuff I'm actually doing visually. That's what I mean by guessing. So we can see that these are nice and smooth. Okay, so now we get to do these over here. If we look at 540, that is when these should be... Oh, it's not 540. It is right about here. So it's going to be... Let's see, those are the intake valves, right? Okay, this is not making much sense. Okay, so yeah, that does kind of make sense. Life makes sense again. Yay. So this one will be at 360. Right here. Let me make that go down just a little bit more. There we go. And it really, really helps if you press S to there we go. It really helps press S and make sure you're centered whenever you do this. So yeah, I know it's not exact, but I mean it's enough to kind of like showcase what's actually going on. So right here, we're going to use the piston this time. So if this is the intake, this is going to be at 180. We will set this one, come back, set it here, come over here at 90, and whoa, easy, killer. So right here, oh, duh. Okay, so right here, this is when the piston's all the way down, coming up. Looks like 360, that's when it's all the way up. So I'm going to set that keyframe there. So right here should be the max low point. Set. Okay, there we go. I should have actually been using that system all along, but yeah. Okay, so you are going to be fully closed at 180. So we're going to set, right about there. Beautiful. And then we'll come in here. Alright, so that's combustion, exhaust, intake. So we're going to set this right there. Let's go and just do it at 360, just to be on the safe side. So we'll set that there. And then right here, looks like it's going to be at 540. Nope, I screwed up. So it comes up. Yeah, it'd be at 540. So why are these not lined up? Why are those not lined up? Because they're not lined up because I was a dumbass, and right here they should be closed. But this is showing they're closed right here. So I actually have that off. In fact, the 4 strokes of an engine are intake, compression, combustion, exhaust. So right here, this is actually the combustion stroke. It goes down, that's the combustion. It comes up, that's the exhaust. Comes back down. This should be the start of the intake right here at 360. So realistically, I have my numbers correct. Okay, you know what? It can just get set there at that. And then right down here at the bottom, this is where it should be fully closed. So right here, if that's at 360, then it should actually be at 450. It should be open. So we're going to open those up. There we go. And then we're going to select these. We're actually going to rotate those there. So when we look at this, that is not centered. I really thought it was. So we get to go into X-ray and wireframe. Let's take a look at this on what is going on. And that is what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in on this. I'm going to put in my 3D cursor right here. So I'm actually glad I had this error in here. The reason why, because had I not had this error, if you ran into this problem, like you had to redo this, now you know how to fix it. So by me doing that, is what this allows me to do is if I press E on the keyboard, I can now set these to the position where I need them. There we go. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to go to 450. I'm going to move them down. I'm going to hit set. And I'm seeing them all move. Sweet. Okay, so now we get to animate these right here. This is the hard animation. What makes it so hard? Absolutely nothing. I just want it to sound intense. What we're going to do is we're going to press W on the keyboard, go to our move tool. We're going to press S. That will lock that in. Then we will go to the point where these stop. So in this case, I'm going to say, looks like it's going to be 540. We will set that there, come halfway in. And first thing we need to do is figure out where they're at. So they are about halfway in, which is fairly realistic. Come down, and that's how we're going to move them. We also need to set that. So, there we go. Beautiful. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. We will set that there. Set that there, come in here, and I mean, I know I could have done a much better job with this. I just didn't want to. So we're going to set that there. 137, this is where we actually move all the way down. Go. Awesome. Now I just have to do the rest like that. So if you use your animator, it is a lot easier in terms of setting your animations. Do you have to? No, you don't have to. Basically, you just see me do it both ways. I think it's easier to use your animator, but you don't necessarily have to. It really just depends on how realistic you're trying to go and how accurate you're trying to make it look. Like this one, I should have set that one at 270. But it's okay. There we go. I believe that one's animated. It is. So if you're wondering why I don't just duplicate the animations, the reason why I don't just duplicate the animations, because this one is such a simple animation that there's really no reason to duplicate it. And that's honestly the only reason. Like, literally, all I'm doing is just finding the center points. This one's actually going to be 270 right there. And then just find the center point, move it there, set. That looks good. Oops, there we go. Alright, almost done. I'm going to frame in on these, make it a little easier for me to locate. Huh. Yeah, that ain't right. So I am going to fix this animation. So we have this keyframe right here. Man, I really wish I could select those keyframes. And, oh, okay, I can do it that way. So we're going to go to 360. I'm going to press E. Set. 360. This should actually be set all the way to 540. So I'm going to... wait, is it 540? Not according to this slope, it's not. But we can get it closer to 480, so that's what we'll do. Come back here, we'll delete. You know, I really have no idea why I cannot... So I'm actually going to select this one. Delete keyframes. There we go. And let's go ahead. Well, it shouldn't be that far in. So we'll do it right about here. And then this right here, we will delete keyframes. We're actually going to set it right here. We're going to set it at 270. Just because we can. And we'll come to 360. And now we will drop this down. There we go. That looks a lot better. So this at 270. I know I'm not there, but you know what? It's fine. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Alright. Then we animate these. Set that there at 540. And at 720. Come halfway in. Looks like right about there. Move these down. Set. Let's make sure all the valves are working. They look like they're all working to me. Okay, sweet. So that's going to be it for this tutorial. The next tutorial, we're actually going to create the valve springs and all of that. So this way you can actually see the springs getting compressed and everything like that, and I'll see y'all there.